Alright, so here we are again. Actually, you might be wondering, oh, by the way, welcome back, Angry Plays, or Angry Revisits Dark Souls, picking up where we left off the other night. You might be wondering why we're back here in Firelink Shrine. After all, we were in Blighttown last time. But I realized that there were a couple of new folks. Hey, Arthur HS. There were a couple of new folks that we sent to Firelink Shrine that when we passed through last time we didn't talk to. I'll talk about a few other things I was doing off screen too. But, so, this is the first one.
Terrific to see us both in one piece. And pray that you never go hollow.
This is the sorcerer that we rescued from
Lower
Undead
And
Bird.
pray that you never go hollow.
He's he actually is part of the sorcerer quest line. Hey, Stroop. And this is Laurentius of the Great Swamp, who is actually one of the more interesting NPCs in the game.
Yeah, I made it out safely too. I have my pyromancy of the Great Swamp, so I can usually manage with a bit of care. Oh yeah, by the way, I can share my spells with you. I think you have a knack for it. All you need are the materials. I'll be pleased to help you. Unless you find the magic's unsavory.
And we'll
Yeah,
go ahead and
wonderful.
answer no.
I'm sure that they'll be of some use, some assistance. Here, first take this. A
And
flame from the Great Swamp. Now you're a fully fledged pyromancer. Well, let's get started right now.
The Nutella Bear remake. Hello. Okay, so, Laurentius actually, he gives us a particular item
Don't you dare go
that,
nowhere.
whoops. Like I said, he's a really nice guy. But anyway, he gives us a particular item, which is the Pyromancy Flame, which is an equipable item. Much like the Talisman, it's what allows us to cast Pyromancy spells. Okay, and I'll actually show off a Pyromancy spell in a little bit, but... and Pyromancy...
Oh, hello there. I'm pleased to see you safe.
I'm gonna...
As always,
we'll let him talk,
Provide the materials, I can teach you pyromancy.
we'll let him, go through his little, dialogue spiel
Pyromancy
here.
is the art of casting fire. Produce flame, then channel it, just as our ancestors did. A pyromancer must be in tune with nature herself. My home, the Great Swamp, is an abundant store of nature. You will understand one day. It only takes time. Pyromancy has a, well, rather primitive aspect to it. It meshes poorly with advanced culture, and pyromancers are considered rather unsavory, which is fine, as I never got along with anybody anyway. So, for me, turning undead didn't change a thing.
And there's the requisite creepy laugh, because everybody's got to have a
Pyromancer's
creepy
flame
laugh.
is a part of his own body. The flame develops right along with his skill. When I gave you that flame, I gave you a part of myself. Please take good care of it. A pyromancer's flame...
Okay, and then he
Please
starts
take-
repeating himself. So, in addition, he will sell us pyromancy spells. We'll grab just a basic one here. We'll grab combustion, just so that we have a spell, and then we'll use it in a little bit. But the other thing is that just like weapons, you can level up your pyromancy flame by spending souls on it. Pyromancy is actually pretty interesting because it is not, unlike the other types of magic, it's not really heavily based on a particular skill, and it doesn't, a particular attribute, and it doesn't have an attribute minimum for it. Instead, you actually, instead of leveling up an attribute that makes your spells better, you just sort of level up your pyromancy hand, which I think people call the glove. And I didn't sleep up here so that we could quickly move back down underground. So, pyromancy in this game is actually really interesting because although it is the magic of fire and it is associated with the witches of Izalith, or yeah, the witch of Izalith and the daughters of chaos. Oh, the reason I'm here, by the way, is because I was actually I stepped out of Blighttown a little bit to kind of play around and try to gain a few medals. I'll talk about that in a bit. But basically, I did some cooperative multiplay and fought. And I fought whatchamacallit. I fought the Gaping Dragon a few more times just for funsies. So we're gonna go ahead and equip a pyromancy spell, and you can see pyromancy spells eat up attunement slots just like any other spell. And with your glove equipped, with your pyromancy glove equipped, you can then cast... Whoops, I guess I should actually... Whoop, excuse me. Okay. It was a mistake to try and show it off against that guy. But, alright, so, we'll go ahead and kill some of the slimes here. Pyromancy is sort of the basic entry-level magic to the game. It's the easiest magic to master, and you can see Combustion pretty much is just a flamethrower spell. Nothing too fancy. It does make short work of these slimes. And just like all the other spells, you have a certain number of castings per rest. Does fire damage. There's really not much to say about it. There are... Ooh, sweet. There are a bunch of other pyromancy spells, and they are not all associated with throwing fire. Which sort of ties into the fundamental dichotomies that the game was establishing in the opening. Anyway, so that's pyromancy. Just so that we showed it off. But it is kind of neat to have it because, I'm going to go ahead and put my force spell back on. I don't think I showed off the force spell. Force is a neat spell. It's a little tough to use, but it is a divine spell. And it is basically... Whoops. It's a very short-range shockwave spell. It doesn't do any damage, it just throws the attacker backwards. There are better versions of Force that do some damage. But it's just a basic little, it's just a Force push spell. So anyway, pyromancy originated with the Witch of Izalith and the Daughters of Chaos, who she was one of the 4 lords at the beginning of the game. She found one of the 4 souls at the start of the game. And while you know, it was associated with fire, and she wove great firestorms to fight the dragons and kill the arch trees. Her real power is the power of life. Okay, if you think about each of the 4 Lord Souls, or each of the 4 Lords as representing a particular element in this game, you have life and death represented by the Witch of Izalith and Nito, the First of the Dead, and you have light and darkness represented by Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and the Furtive Pygmy. Okay, and those are the 4. Those are the 4 basic elements, and those are the 2. It ties into that whole thing about how, you know, the souls of the lords were found in the flame, and the flame created disparity. Basically, opposing forces is what fire brought to the universe. I really don't want to be fighting you here. Force is actually kind of a neat spell to have. Okay. In this particular area, because you can take a lot of... you can take advantage of the vertical space and go ahead and knock people off of it. But, ooh, what did I find? Dumb. Would you get bored? Come on. So, and the story of pyromancy, because it was the Witch of Izalith who taught humanity pyromancy. The witch's daughters are actually where pyromancy came from, where it came into the world. And then the nation known as the Great Swamp is the primary source for pyromancy. Now that story will come back into play later on. But right now I just bring it up because it's interesting that fire and the force of life are kind of tied together to the same element. So meanwhile, one of the things that I mentioned that I had been doing off screen was that I had been doing the cooperative multiplay to beat the boss a few times, beat the Gaping Dragon a few times. And there's a couple of reasons to do that. Whoops. I guess the shield doesn't work if you're not facing the opponent, huh? So anyway, one of the things is that every time you beat a boss, you gain humanity, which you can see in the upper left. And you can see it's glowing because I'm currently human. Which means as a human, I can participate in multiplayer, but I am vulnerable to invasion. But there are a few other hidden things that humanity does, and there are reasons to carry some around with you. Now, when you have a humanity number in the upper left, is anybody else having trouble with the stream? Uh-oh. No, okay, I see it. Okay, so, so there's some reasons to have some humanity in you. And humanity that you actually have consumed is depicted by that number in the upper left. Which, like I said, is currently glowing because I have consumed humanity to make myself human. I am not hollow anymore. And so, among other things, one of the things that humanity does that isn't, like, super obvious is that having any humanity at all increases your resistance to curse. And we saw curse last time, you know, when dealing with the geckos. Oh, where did you come from? They have curse. So if you have any humanity on you, you are slightly more resistant to being cursed. Crap. Please don't kill me. Crap. Fuck. Alright, that kind of annoys me. Of course, if you are carrying any humanity in the upper left, which is referred to by players as soft humanity, you drop that humanity along with your souls when you die. So I've got to make it back to where I died to get that humanity back. Blighttown is actually starting to piss me off now, I gotta say. Because as I said last, Blighttown is an area that really does not give me a whole lot of problems, usually. And I actually am one of the rare psychotic few who like Blighttown. But anyway, yeah, that's just me. But it's really starting to piss me off now. Anywho, the other effect of having humanity is that you have a stat called item discovery. And this is actually a stat that is displayed very prominently in your... Well, not very prominently, but it is displayed in your status screen. So if you look at status, over on the right, halfway down, you see item discovery 100. Okay, that's the normal starting amount of item discovery. Item discovery determines the drop rate of enemies, and it has two effects. Number one, enemies are more likely to drop items, period, if your item discovery is higher. And number two, they are more likely to drop their rare items, because some enemies will drop rare items, just like any sort of action RPG type game. Enemies have rare items on them. And the thing is, it sort of jumps up. Even having just one bit of soft humanity causes the item discovery rate to go up. So if you're trying to get particular items, or like I was doing, like trying to get some green titanite so that you can level up your weapon, it's good to have even one humanity on you. In point of fact, if you're playing through the game the first time and you don't know what's coming, it's generally good because you don't know when you're going to wander into a gecko area with curses, and, you know, item drops are always helpful. So it's good to have one humanity on you, even if you don't go human. If you sit at a bonfire, you can spend that humanity to turn human again, as we've seen, and then that exposes you to the multiplay, which means your world can be invaded. Actually, really hate these guys. It's the huggy attack that bothers me. And that they jump around a lot. I did push up my endurance a little bit so that I can get a few more swings before my stamina bar runs out. Yep, I hear you guys. Come on. You know you want to. Anyone else? See, what we should do is, I shouldn't be doing the jumpy route. And actually, Matt the Warbo is saying that you can also engage in jolly cooperation. Yeah, and there's, as has been mentioned, if you are human, you will see white summon signs that other players have left, and also NPCs, so that they can help you with boss fights. We'll be encountering that again in a little while. Ah, crap. Why can't I have a grabby attack? Yeah, and but leaving your own summon sign so that you can be summoned into another world to help other players does not actually require you to be human. I think it did in the initial release of the game, but they took that out because I'm not quite sure what happened there. I think the physics engine freaked out because when he came off the ladder, he was moving into my space. But whatever. We're going to take the safer route down, and we are going to try and retrieve my souls and humanity. So, and by the way, the reason that it's called soft humanity is because you'll also have noticed by this point that you do pick up these humanity items, which you can consume to convert into humanity. Humanity items are considered hard humanity because you don't drop them when you die. Even though I don't personally like that terminology, because when it's in your, it's not humanity until it's in you. Until then, it's just this weird black sprite. Also, fun fact, the rats in the game have a very high drop rate on humanity. So if you're trying to get a hold of some humanity, farming the rats in the depths is a good way to do it. Humanity can also be gotten by invading other players and killing them. You earn some humanity for... Alright, you guys. There we go. And I got my humanity back. Oh, and I also have souls I can level up a little bit. We might as well throw another level on the fire, right? I think 30 is where I need my faith to be. Oh, I have a green Titanite shard. So we can up my longsword to longsword level 2. And I can have better holy trousers with my large Titanite shard, so there we go. And any of my equipment that's broken, we'll fix it. Zane DeSantis is pointing out that the rats have more humanity than the hallowed humans. There's a metaphor there. Well, remember that hallowed humans are humans who have lost all of their humanity. You know, as you keep dying and coming back to life as an undead, you gradually lose yourself until you go hollow. So once you are hollow, basically you are devoid of humanity. Humanity in this world, but it actually exists physically as this sort of black glittery sprite that comes out of dead people. Or comes out of people. It comes out of humans. And I think the implication is that rats will, as they devour people, they will also eat the humanity. You know, or they're attracted to glittery objects or what have you. The fact that the humanity does appear as a dark black sprite is also kind of important. But again, we're trying to gradually discover the story, so I'm not going to give away any spoilers right now. One of my biggest annoyances with Blighttown is that the terrain is just too friggin' busy. It's tough to get clear swings at enemies. It's, Matt the Warbo says, if your humanity is hard for more than 4 hours, consult a doctor. Yep. Alright. Oh, crap. Where did that guy follow me from? Kill him first. This was the spot, too. This was the spot that kept killing me last time. Was this ogre and his little yelly, shouty, grunty buddy. But now we have... So now we move on to the second section. And last time we dropped down so that we could grab the whip, which doesn't bring us anywhere different than this fog gate does. Yeah, Zane DeSantis said, I remember the terrain was being too busy was a complaint you had about Old Yarnum, too. In general, one of my complaints with Bloodborne is that it feels really over-designed. Like, there's a lot of crap going on. It's very busy. Graphically, it's very busy. You know, I mean, this is not really a good example, but this game is a lot less busy. So if we had... busy. It's the only word I can think of. You know, it's like there's clutter. The game is graphically cluttered. The game is physically cluttered. When we dropped down to grab the whip, by the way, this is where we came out. So, you know, you don't gain any ground going that way. And now we're working our way down toward the bottom of Blighttown. We encounter a new enemy, the fire spiders, things. They are jumpy little spiders. They have wings, but they don't really fly. They do sort of jump, and then they breathe that sort of... I think it does fire damage, but it's basically just... It looks like a cloud of runes. Like they're breathing Grolix at you. And then if you listen closely, you can hear that thunk thunk. Which is the telltale sign. That is the sound that the toxic dart guys make. So there are still toxic dart guys down here. There's one directly off to our left. Yeah, directly off to our left. And you can see now that we're getting to the... Shit. And he got me while I wasn't paying attention, which is why we brought moss. Of course, if you didn't know to bring moss, you just... It's an obnoxious discovery that you make. Also, fun fact too, the bandit shield, because I did a bandit playthrough. The bandit shield, which you can pick up in the depths if you don't start as a bandit, has a very high resistance to poison, which is extremely helpful in this area. It also has it's 100% block rate, I believe. So it pretty much converts all physical damage to stamina. And now here we have a real pain in the ass enemy, is the vomit mosquitoes. I don't know, I'm sure they have some other name, but they fly around and they spew poisonous blood goo at you. And they demonstrate how badly this game handles... Whoa, shit, I almost fell off. How badly this game handles verticality. Because they are extremely easy to swing through. The game has a hard time figuring out whether... With certain weapons, the game has a hard time of figuring out whether you hit them or not. The collision in them is really, really terrible. So my solution is to use ranged weapons on them from a distance. And there's a couple of, like, couple of things I actually discovered about these friggin' things, because I hate them. They are pretty, like, of all the, except, with the possible exception of the Silver Archer Knights, which we will meet later on, they're the enemy that I absolutely hate the most in this game. But one of the things I discovered is that they actually have spawn points. They spawn out of the ground here at certain locations, and they will always spawn. I think 7 of them will always spawn from a spawn point. So you can sit here and pick them off until you have killed all 7 of them, counting the 2 that had already come at me, I think. That should do it. Yeah, it was just a weird pattern. Yeah, Imperial Star Destroyer is saying discovered a neat trick with regards to the toxic dart throwers. At this point, I have gotten everything out of this game that I'm going to get, so go to town. If you have a secret, let me know. I'm interested. I got nothing to prove anymore. I've beaten this game multiple times, so... And now here we are at the base of... You know, we talked about how there's the concentric walls of Lordran, and then that Blighttown sort of sits at the base of these, or in the vertical space between two of the walls. And here we are now at the base, in basically Screwjob Central. This area is a complete and utter screwjob. Ooh. Uh-oh, shit. Don't die now. Don't die now. You don't realize, so there's these narrow areas of land, and then there's the toxic muck. Right? And we're gonna move our ass. Now the toxic muck, it's not toxic, it's actually poison muck. But it is actually poisonous. So, once you walk through it, you start building up your poison meter, and you become poisoned. However, it is actually a weak poison. That is, it does not do a lot of damage per tick, or whatever, you know, however you want to call it. As you can see, that it's chipping away very slowly at my health. It's not as bad as... It's certainly not as bad as toxic, but there does seem to be overall a strength to poisons in this game. Oh yeah, okay. Zane Descent or Imperial Star Destroyer is talking about the dung pile trick, which I did actually know about. I cannot remember where I learned that from, but yeah. So the dung pies that we had been picking up from the ogres, because it's implied that they smear it on their weapons. Those cause toxic if you throw them. And we find at the base of Blighttown here in this sewer entrance, we find our bonfire, our next checkpoint. And because there are differences in degrees of both toxicity and poison. You know, there are strong poisons and weak poisons, and strong toxics and weak toxics. You can use the dung piles to give yourself toxic, but it's a much weaker toxic than the toxic that the toxic dart throwers give. And once you're toxic, you can't be toxic again until you get rid of toxic. So it's kind of like infecting yourself with a cold to avoid getting the flu. And we're going to go ahead and kindle the bonfire. Which is another reason why we try to remain hollow. And you can see now, or remain human, and you can see, now that I'm human, I can actually see that there's another player who has left their summon sign here, and they could come in and play the game with me, except that they were either summoned by someone else, or their summon sign disappeared because they wandered too far away or something. There are actually two different colors of summon signs, well, they're called white soapstone signs because they come from the white soapstone. But the golden ones are players who are in the Covenant of the Sun, like I am. Matt the Warbo is making fun of my ungrammatical use of the word toxic. I guess at this point. I'm not sure that there's really a benefit to building up my faith much more than 30. So I'm going to keep building up my endurance. And now, okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to head over to the right here. Because you might remember from last time we got invaded by an NPC. Kirk, the Knight of Thorns, invaded us. It was a scripted event that always happens if you are human in this area. So here we have another scripted event. This is an NPC, Man-Eater Mildred. She's not a particularly tough NPC. She uses that big-ass machete and a crappy Wanderer shield. She is naked except for the sack on her head, which implies a connection with the butcher enemies. But after you've defeated her, she can now be summoned as an ally. And you can see she also drops humanity, and she drops her weapon, the butcher knife. And now what we're going to do, like, if I, one of the things I've noticed, too, with the bow is that the arrows actually veer slightly to the right sometimes of the crosshair. And once the enemy gets close enough, you're just better off using auto-targeting. So we are going to completely pillage Blighttown. That is to say, we are going to explore this entire toxic swamp now. Matt the Warbro was asking, does it matter to the summoner that the summonee is in the Covenant? Yes. There's actually a couple of effects to the matching Covenant. First of all, there are several co-op covenants. That is, covenants that are based on, being, cooperative multiplayer rather than competitive multiplayer. And if you are a member of any of those covenants, your sign is more likely to appear across more worlds. Remember we talked about how there's this sort of adjacency thing going on. There's some sort of a way that the game uses to figure out what worlds are near to other worlds based on servers. So if you are a member of say the Covenant of the Sun, or the Way of the White, or I think the Princess Guard is another one. If you're a member of any of those covenants, your sign is more likely to appear in other people's worlds, particularly people who are also a part of co-op covenants. In addition... Oh, okay, so these are the maggot opponents, which I find absolutely repulsive. I hate the way they move. I hate the way they spew whatever it is they spew. But you can see now, like, looking around, we're actually just in sort of a curved corridor with these pillars in it that runs between the two walls. So you could just sort of run around one wall and then basically make a loop around the area. Which is exactly what we're going to do, because we're going to make sure that we pick up absolutely everything here. Here we found the corpse of the Pyromancer undead, the starting class Pyromancer, along with the Pyromancy spell of Poison Mist, because Pyromancy is also the element of poison, and life, and fire, and buffing. It's a pretty broad school of magic, actually. So we just sort of hug the right-hand wall, and we can use and that, by the way, we can see all of the ramshackle scaffolds that we climbed to get down here, which we're now directly across from. And you'll also notice that I'm just kind of ignoring the poison and letting it eat at me because I can stay healed. Just to explore this area. And there's actually a couple of interesting things to find in this space. Apart from... Yeah, that's... The reason that I use the arrows, by the way, is because they, apart from the fact they work at range, obviously, which is the advantage of any ranged weapon, the main reason I use arrows against them is because with auto-targeting on, the arrows do not have an issue of poor collision detection. Whereas any swinging weapon and thrusting weapons have a lot of hit detection issues with the with those maggots. Not maggots, with the mosquitoes. Now, if we really wanted to, like, I think the intention with this area is that they wanted you to run from chunk of land to chunk of land, not just tank the damage and ignore the poison. But, you know, whatever. And it's sort of, you know, it's... You run into a sort of issue when you try something like that. Because clearly they designed this area so that you want to... Like, you can pick a route out by moving from spit of land to spit of land, using the pillars as sort of a guide to where the land is, because the land sticks out of the pillars, or the land, you know, gathers around the pillars or around the walls. But the problem is, unless you have very low hit points, the poison actually just doesn't do enough to really make it necessary. Of course, if it did do enough, this area would be a complete nightmare. So it's like, you know, one of the decisions that a designer has to make is, how painful do you want playing the wrong way to be? It is also, by the way, beating up these maggots is actually useful. And there's a reason why I wanted some humanity on me when I came down here. Because... Oh, I should show that off, too. The maggots have a high drop rate on green titanite and on large titanite. It's another good area to farm. And you can see right now my item discovery is at 173. Just from 4 humanity, it's almost, you know, it's... I guess, what is it, 66% higher? I don't know. I should be able to do the math, but whatever. It's... And I think the upper ceiling is 10 humanity maxes out your item discovery, but don't quote me on that. Okay, we found server, another weapon. Oh, so we were talking about covenants, though, and there is another... See, like, every covenant also has its sort of... Now, you might also notice that we're now walking against a big wooden wall. And that's going to be significant in a second. But every covenant also has sort of a... has a particular activity or goal that it wants you to engage in. Most of them are based around earning humanity and using that humanity towards some particular purpose. But the Covenant of the Sun is based on earning sunlight medals. Okay, oh, and I have a bunch of them already. Oh, okay, so there's... Yep, I just got 5 green titanite shards from that, because they, when the maggots drop titanite, they always drop 5. Okay, so now here, what we find growing out of the ground at the base of Blighttown here is actually a massive tree that we can then go inside, and we're going to come back here later on. But for right now, I'm just showing you that it's here. If you explore thoroughly, you'll find it. This is the corpse of the Deprived, the class that starts with basically nothing. And if you get lucky, and nobody has left a message about it, so we're going to go ahead and strike the wall here. And usually the way you discover this is because someone has left a message indicating And we're going to go ahead, we'll say imminent. Geography, I guess it's under. Imminent illusionary wall. So now other people will see that message and know that there's an illusionary wall right there. And then we find this treasure chest. And then, behind the treasure chest, is another illusionary wall. So since we want people to be able to find it, again, we'll go ahead and leave a message. Imminent illusory wall. So there we go. So now other people can find their way deeper into the tree. Like I said, we're not going to go visit the tree beyond this place just yet. We'll come back here later on. This is actually, the Great Hollow is a very, very interesting area. Actually, the Great Hollow is a terrible, terrible area. But the, what's below it is actually super significant. Though, that also, like, there's an interesting sort of pattern, as we continue to explore the game. One of the things you're going to find is that as the game goes on and on, I'm going to have more and more problems to point out. Okay? The game, as much as I love this game, it is not a masterpiece. It is not without flaws. It has a number of problems. And many of which become evident in the later areas of the game. And, you know, if we're going to critically analyze the game, Salmello is saying it still amazes me how much they were willing to hide behind those illusory walls. You know, it's actually, I think, what was it? I was watching the Zero Punctuation review of simple Castlevania Symphony of the Night, of all things. And sort of a similar point was made that in modern video games, the designers seem to have this fear that the players will not find everything. That if you hide things, players will miss chunks of your game. And if they miss chunks of your game, then what's the point of them even being there? So, like, for example, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, literally half the game is hidden behind doing a certain sequence of events exactly right with minimal clues in the game. Which is something that, as Yahtzee pointed out in Zero Punctuation, it's something that you would never ever see nowadays. You know, they just wouldn't do that. We're going to keep pushing up my vitality and endurance a bit, because I like to have hit points and I like to have stamina. And, you know, my faith is high enough now that I really don't... Well, I mean, we've already talked about the stat building. So now we've explored the entire left half, you know, left of the bonfire, the left half of Blighttown. See what I mean, too? Like, there is something really fucked up about the targeting. When an enemy is too close, there is just no point in using the sniper shooting. And if the enemy is too far away, you can't lock onto them. But also, like I said, you can be dead on. And there's weird drift in where the arrows go. So you learn to kind of aim to the left. So, but Dark Souls is a good example of a game where they were willing to hide absolutely everything. But my personal feeling on that was that was because it was built around this idea of shared knowledge and a community experience. So they could bury things knowing that as people pretty much ripped this entire game apart to discover absolutely everything they could, They would share it online, or they would share it through messages and other stuff. You know, so it would be shared, it would be discovered. So they could be really, really, really subtle in how they hid everything. Now I'm gonna hold off on exploring that scaffolding for just a minute. We're gonna make sure that we grab all the rest of the items down here. Actually did manage to hit them. See what I mean? You sort of learn how off your aim has to be based on the distance to the opponent. Uh-oh. I think the rock biter over there kind of figured out I'm over here. Or he's trying to figure out what was shooting arrows. I can't tell if he's actually seen me. He seems to have been attracted by the noise of the arrows. We're going to leave them alone for the moment. Because now at the other end, we have this really weird sort of spiky mound. Which sort of has the look of a termite hive or an ant hive or an anthill. But we're going to leave that alone for the moment. And continue to make sure that we have explored absolutely everywhere. And picked up all the, like we can see an item over there that we didn't get yet. Being guarded by a fire spider monster thing. And all of these souls can be consumed to gain more souls. Now, right around this corner, in the darkness, there are a couple of boulder ogres, so we're going to have our first encounter with a boulder ogre. So he throws his boulder, he comes, he will smash you with the boulder. He's also got a third attack too that's kind of funny. But when he smashes you with the boulder, he basically becomes locked in position, and that's your perfect opportunity to get behind him. So the third thing he will do, let's see if I can get him to do it. Yeah, okay. Is he does that rolling attack where he'll roll the boulder into you, and if you come into contact with him at all, it'll do high damage and knock you over. And I think he's got like one or two buddies over here. Just one buddy. You also have to be careful while he's doing his little rolling boulder attack. If you bump into him from behind while he's in rolling boulder mode, it will damage you. Also, there's a certain size of enemy where the back attack is unpleasantly reminiscent of just sodomizing these enemies. Particularly the ogres, because they have very pronounced rear ends, and I have to comment on it because we're all thinking it. Okay, and now I've looted pretty much everything at the base of Blighttown. Notice again the use of lighting to draw my attention over there to whatever's going on over there. Also notice the use of lighting and color to draw my attention there, which is my goal. Okay, so even though this is a really dark, dim area, the game is using light to tell me where to go next, which is something that Dark Souls uses its lighting so well. But we're going to go up and we're going to explore this area, even though technically, this is generally a place that... Actually, I'll save that for later. Okay. I'm not even sure what that references because there is not actually a Dark Wraith yet. So we've got this water wheel contraption here, and we can step out onto it and ride it upward. Wanderlearn says I was trying to avoid it. I assume you were trying to avoid the obvious appearance of sword sodomy, right? Yeah. Okay. So I like to explore this area. Oh crap. Uh-oh. I got toxicked. Alright. So there are toxic dart throwers up here. So this is what is commonly referred to as the back door to Blighttown, and you'll understand why when we get up to the top of it. But this is, if you start the game with the master key item, you can come into Blighttown via this path. Otherwise, this is actually the exit path after you've cleared this area. This is the way you go back up to the surface. However, it's worth exploring now. I should have brought more purple moss clumps. It's okay. It'll be fine. We'll be fine. Okay. So this is basically dart throw or yeah, blowgun guy central. We've got a bunch of blowgun guys. I had the wrong thing on. Alright, we're gonna back off for a second here. Alright, and it's actually worth clearing this area. And I'm gonna use my heal spell. Rather than so that I hold on to some Estus. And you can see that we can also go down there, and you can see that we have some of those fire-breathing rat dogs to deal with. But there is actually a very valuable item in this area. Whoops. Crap. I didn't have my shield on. Alright. So now, we have officially killed... yeah, I'm pretty sure. We have now officially killed all of the toxic dart throwers in all of Blighttown. That's why I get this out of the way now. Because then on my way out, I do not have to worry about those guys again. The other challenge to this little side sewer here is that it can be very difficult to get down into that pit without getting overwhelmed. Well, like, see, what I just did there, that was the wrong way to do it. Because I fell. But it can be very difficult because as you climb down that ladder, you aggro both of those little flamethrower dogs. So they are just waiting for you down at the bottom. There are 3 more dead ahead. Or 2 more dead ahead. They do have a slight... Because of their coloration, they are very visible, which is handy. And then there's 2 more over here. Shield actually isn't much use against the fire for, you know, a number of reasons. So you want to kind of draw them out into the open where you can get around them. Oh. Damn it! I thought the corpse was the other one. And now I discovered that I actually lost track of them. And this is what we're after here. A Firekeeper soul. Now, we found a Firekeeper soul already. We found one in the church in the Undead Parish. And it was on a corpse that had been sacrificed on an altar. And we'll talk about who that was, where that might have come from and why later on. But each Firekeeper soul that you discover, allows you to reinforce your Estus flasks so that they do a little bit more healing. You can, like right now, my Estus flasks have been reinforced once already. That's why they're Estus flask +1. And we're just going to climb our way up to the top of this area. Oh, Imperial Star Destroyer is saying that there might be one more blowgun guy. Yeah, that's why I was unsure. I couldn't remember if there was another guy up here. But I'm gonna have to hope I don't get toxic because I don't have any more. I don't have any more blooming moss. And again, no, it's still going to point it out. Every ladder has a torch. So now we are up at the top of this area. Yeah, okay, Matt the Warbo, no spoilers here. But yeah, you're right. That is kind of a dick move. And then we come around here. You'll notice we found that key. You know what? Oh, shit. I rolled too early. Crap. Crap. Can you get off the wall there so I can get around behind you? Come on, you'll like it if I get around behind you. It only hurts the first time. There we go. Okay, I handled that badly. Fog wall? Oh crap, I have an invader in my world. Okay. Alright, no biggie. So, as I mentioned previously, the fog walls are used to lock off, to basically section off areas of the game for multiplayer purposes. They determine who you can co-op with, based on where you are in the game, and they determine... when you are invaded, they determine where you can and can't go. Now, when you are invaded, you do actually have an option other than waiting for death. If you can reach the fog gate that represents the boss of the area, then you can... Then the invader will be banished from the world. So if I actually made a beeline for the boss... If I made a beeline for the boss, I could get rid of the invader. I'm not actually that chuffed about it. Or I you know what, worst that happens is someone kills me. But I'm gonna continue to pick at this area. Because I didn't have to go any farther than that anyway. I wonder where this person is. I wonder if they figured out where I am. So the other thing is, and I have such trouble. There's actually a reason why I saved this path for the last spot I explore. Because I have a lot of trouble walking that path without falling off. It is slightly... if you walk too close to the edge of that path, you will slide off of it. And I have a lot of trouble staying on that path. So here we find the Crimson Sorcerer's equipment. Oh, Black Rada LS is saying that Sturges. You know, it never occurred to me to call them Sturges. I always just referred to them as mosquitoes, but now that I think about it, yeah, that's a perfectly appropriate name for them. Yeah, this is kind of a weird place to invade. Matt the Warbo is saying this seems like a weird place to invade someone, but... Alright, so now I think at this point, with the exhaust... There's nothing... I can't remember where every item is in the game. I gotta apologize. I do have to wander down every path. To make sure I haven't missed anything. But with this, we have now thoroughly explored every square inch of Blighttown except for the, you know, except for the actual... Do I not have any homeward bones? How many... or did I scroll past them? There we go. So we're going to go ahead and teleport back to my bonfire. Salmello is asking, do you have any control over where you invade people? In the sense that you invade, like if you invade, you're invading an area, the area where they're at. So like if I were to do an invasion right now, you know what? If you guys want to see, we can try and do an invasion. I don't know if it's going to work here, but let me... but I'll show off what how invasion works. So early in the game, until you join a competitive covenant, because there are PvP covenants in the game. So until you join a PvP covenant, your only option for invasion is these cracked red eye orbs. Oh, we're gonna level up the hell out of my Divine Longsword. Look at that. And we're gonna do a little bit of armor maintenance also. Oh. Better holy trousers? Definitely. Whoops. And better traveling gloves. I'm gonna throw the rest of my stuff into the bottomless box. Right quick, so that again it doesn't clutter up all my menus. Oh, and I meant to also show off, like, I talk a lot about the story of this game, and what the story of the game actually is, and most of the story of the game is actually revealed through the items. So, yeah, for example, Crest Shield? Shield of a Nameless Knight, likely a high-ranked Knight of Astora. This is actually the shield that we got from killing Oscar, the guy who helped release us in the back in the Undead Asylum. And we can see, oh, this tells us that he was a Knight of Astora high-ranked knight of Astora. The Balder shields. Shield of the Knights of the Ancient Kingdom of Balder, tweaked for improved stability. Balder was the home of Night King Rendel, but the kingdom was reduced to ruins after a widespread outbreak of undead. So if you actually go through and read all of the item descriptions, they reveal the lore of the world to you. Tin Banishment, catalyst of the banishment sorcerers who flooded New Londo to seal off away the dark wraiths and the kings who fell to dark. This is actually this crimson, the crimson clothing, and I'm not going to go through, like, the thing is, I don't want this to turn into let's read item descriptions the stream, okay? So as I start to summarize the story and what's going on in the world, this is where most of the information comes from. Okay, so here we're known as healers in the Bright Crimson. So these are that whole red equipment set, the Crimson Sealer equipment set. We are going to meet the NPC who wears that garb, and that's going to help us learn the story of the New Londo ruins, the flooded ruins below the city. Okay, so that's now everything dropped in. But let's let me level up while I can, and then we'll do an invasion, or we'll try an invasion, because what the hell, why not? GM Brocon is asking, is this DS 1, 2, or 3? This is Dark Souls 1. This is where it all started, except that it isn't where it started, because it started with a game called Kingsfield, and then Demon Souls, and then Dark Souls, and then Dark Souls 2, and then Bloodborne, and then Dark Souls 3. Oh. Why can't... Oh, I know why I can't use it. I can't use it because I'm in... Oh, shit. I'm sorry. I was digging through my backpack and didn't see you coming. Whoops. Oh, can I not... Oh, you know why I can't use it? Because I am being invaded again. The invaders are out tonight. Alright, well, whatever. Yeah, whatever. So somewhere around here is probably another invader. This is actually a bad area to invade, too, because... particularly Upper Blighttown. Because a lot of people have this tendency to invade, and then, like... You know, they'll fall and die. GM Brocon is saying, no idea about Kingsfield. Hooray for Google. Yeah, Kingsfield was a PS1 game. I didn't play it, but it was the game that introduced the mechanics that Demon Souls then refined. And we're going to ignore these ogres for now, because I'm not in the mood. And we're going to head up into this webby insect hive looking place, which was our goal. And now we are in the webby insect hive looking place. Oh, okay, that was the ogre following me. I thought the invader followed me. And we are clearly in some kind of an insect nest. You can tell by the graphical change. And then we have these guys. You can see that these are prostrate humanoids. Prostrate humans, actually. With these egg sacs growing out of their backs. If you attack them, and these messages will warn you, usually, yeah, okay, that's a screw job. Because the messages will generally warn you not to attack them. Because if you attack them and kill them, they release these tiny maggots that have very difficult hitboxes. As you can see. And holy shit, they do a lot of damage. I didn't realize that. Okay. So you get swarmed by those maggots. Wanderlord is saying, I appreciate the subtle details and lack of random talking. I was playing through Dragon's Dogma and there was a point where I turned off the voice volume in that game. Yeah, no, I'm not. Yep. I'm not going to bother any more of them. Imminent amazing chest. Amazing chest. This is sort of a running gag outside this boss. So now, I'm actually going to go ahead and summon this player character, because they have a gold summon sign. I'm actually going to summon Maneater Mildred, because we're playing with all the NPCs now. Normally, again, I do prefer to beat the bosses without summoning, but in this case, because we're trying to explore the story, so we're going to let Maneater Mildred join our world. And the other thing, because I'm trying to show off some of the Covenant mechanics, oh, that summon sign disappeared, so no longer an option. Never mind. So we're going to bring Maneater Mildred into the fight with us. The amazing chest thing is a running gag about this boss, which I'm sure you'll... And there's another spot of amazing chest ahead later on, but I'm sure you'll see what it means in just a moment. Her superpower is keeping her nipples covered with her hair at all times. Wanderlord is asking if there's a particular time limit on summon signs. Nope. But they do disappear if a player wanders out of the area that they're in, or if the player is summoned to another world, or the player stops playing. So, this is Chaos Witch Quelaag, who is basically a centaur's... Oh, shit. She's basically a centaur spider. So she's... trying to... So she is a woman's torso and head mounted on a giant bestial spider. She has that explosive attack, which you can see. She also uses a lot of zoning by creating flows of lava. And generally speaking, Maneater Mildred actually makes really short work of this boss by herself. Okay, there we go. So you can see she also has her sword. She vomits up lava. And Maneater Mildred can usually take Quelaag on her own. This is the first time I've ever actually seen Mildred die. Mildred has a very high fire resistance. I also discovered that if your primary means of dealing with bosses is pyromancy in this game, Quelaag is kind of a screwjob. The lava remains for some time, so, whoops. So the boss is pretty effective at using zoning against you. Fortunately, the area of the boss arena is actually pretty big, so. So it doesn't get too serious. But it can, like, you can get kind of caught up in a small area and surrounded by lava, which kind of sucks. So you kind of have to be aware of where the walls are. Otherwise, sort of the stick and run combat style works pretty well. If you want to go two-handed, you don't want to be caught without a shield when she stabs you, or when she does that explosion thing. Though the explosion, I think, does magic damage, which will eat through most shields anyway. She's not a terribly difficult boss. The biggest thing to deal with is that she's got a very wide arc on her attack when she uses the sword. So if you're going to rely on rolling, you have to get the timing down really precisely. She also does a good deal of tracking you. So if you try to get around her, she does. She also does not stay still long, so getting off a good spell attack on her is kind of tricky. Like if you're gonna use magic, the best thing to do is wait until she's doing the a lava vomit, and then throw the spell like I just did. And yes, she is connected to the Daughters of Chaos and the Queen of Chaos, the Witch of Izalith. And that's that. I'm actually a little bit disappointed, though, because, like I said, usually Mildred just... Like, one of the reasons I don't like summoning some of the NPCs is because they really just destroy certain boss fights, and Mildred has a tendency to completely trivialize the Quelaag fight. She just stands there with Quelaag and pounds away, and she seems to have a very high fire resistance. So now we can see Quelaag, Chaos Witch Quelaag, by the way. And yes, she is connected to the Daughters of Chaos and the Queen of Chaos, the Witch of Izalith. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and rate that one, because. And now, couple of things. So first of all, there is this pit that you can fall in, and it just goes down to a lower level. But just like up above after we beat the Bell Gargoyle, we have a lever and a bell. Now remember that we were told that there are 2 bells of awakening we have to ring to learn the fate of the undead and pilgrimage to Lordran and all that stuff. This is the 2nd bell of awakening. So in theory, at this point, we should learn the fate of the undead if the story is to be believed. And we get one of the game's few cutscenes that isn't a boss intro. And now we're looking across. So down there, the tower that was in the foreground, that was the old church where Andre worked. And the area that we're looking at now is a place called Sen's Fortress, and we're going to learn more about that in a second. And you might remember the big gate that the Onion Knight, Siegmeyer, was sitting outside saying, "It's still closed, don't know how to open it, I'll just sit here." Oh, and off to the left, that's where you fought the Bell Gargoyles. Also, I don't think I ever mentioned it, but Homeward Bones teleport you back to your last bonfire. And you tend to get one after each boss, so that you can go ahead and spend the souls that you earned for fighting that boss. So we are now in a ruined tower that appears to be on the edge of basically hell. And at this point we are technically done, and we could move on. We would go back to the surface now, but we're not quite going to do that yet. We're going to check out this area down here. So there's a couple of things. There's this mysterious mandala on the ground, or seal. Can't do anything with that just yet. And if we leave by the lower door of the tower, and head through this tunnel, through the red filter, we find ourselves in the Demon Ruins. Basically an underground, you can see it's sort of an underground city, temple, hellscape kind of a place. We have more of these egg worshippers. They are non-violent, by the way. They will not bother you unless you bother them. We are not quite ready to explore this area yet. Just showing it off. But this is outside the ruins of Izalith. So. We're going to go ahead, though, and we will light the bonfire. Because why the hell not? And we'll kindle the bonfire since we're here. So that later on when we come down here, it'll offer us more healing. And the other thing, if we go back into this tower, and this is actually the reason that I took the particular item that I did at the start of the game. Yeah, so this is Quelog's domain. So there is an illusionary wall here. Which, again, usually there's a message in front of it to let people know. But I guess part of the problem is that people are not as many people are playing this game anymore. Okay. So here is one of the creepier NPCs and covenants in the game.
What have we here? Are you a new servant?
I'm going to go ahead and say yes.
But you have no eggs. No matter. Go along and have audience with our fair lady. I pray that you will mind your manners.
So the first creepy implication here is that guy willingly accepted having the maggot eggs growing out of his back. Which is also kind of the prostrate, worshipful... I mean, number one, it's like, the pose is prostrate, it is worshipful, but at the same time, they are so burdened by the eggs growing out of their back that they can do nothing else. So they are burdened by their faith, by their worship. And who they worship is this creature, Quelog's sister. Now, Quelog's sister, she is a firekeeper, just like the firekeeper up above. So she is bound to this particular bonfire. And we should talk about what that means too. But she is a firekeeper. She is bound to this particular bonfire, which means if you give her a firekeeper soul, she can reinforce your Estus flask. But if you talk to her, you cannot understand what she is actually saying.
Are you prepared to dedicate yourself to our fair lady? Then I will make available whatever you require. If you need something, ask me first.
Okay, and he will... so he offers the list of all the players who are members of this particular covenant called the Daughters of Chaos.
There is no time for idle chat. Think only of our fair lady and what she may need.
Okay. I am not going to join this covenant. This is actually a PvP covenant. But I am going to go ahead and equip the old witch's ring that I chose to start the game with. Which is engraved with an indecipherable script. And it comes from an old witch. And by doing that, we will be able to understand...
My dear sister.
We can now understand what Quilana is saying.
What is it?
Quilana is actually blind, so she can't tell that we are not her sister.
Quelog, my dear sister. I am afraid it may be too late. I am so sorry, dear sister. I'll be fine. I have you, dear sister. But promise me that you will take care of yourself.
I think that's pretty much everything. Yeah, okay. So that...
Bye, Quaylock. It was so very nice to chat.
Okay, so...
You speak the tongue of the fair lady? Well, do not be rash with your pride. You have yet to earn my trust. If you try anything funny with the fair lady, there will be hell to pay. There is nothing to say to you, except if you lay a hand on the fair lady, you should be prepared to face my wrath.
Okay. Because I'm not gonna do this covenant, I'll go ahead and give away the story here. So the deal with Quelaag and Quelana and the covenant of the Daughters of Chaos. There's more to it that we'll find out about later. But essentially what happened is the people of Blighttown were experimenting with more and more dangerous pyromancy. Particularly magic and poison. Or particularly poison. And ultimately, because of their experiments, the people and the land of Blighttown became poisoned. That's what caused it to become toxic. The people became diseased. They became infected with the blight pus or some shit like that. And Quelana, that was the dying ill spider. She took pity on the people of Blighttown, the pyromancers, and she sucked the poison out of them to keep them alive. In so doing, she became diseased. She is blind and she is dying of the poison. And the only way she can be kept alive is by constantly feeding her humanity. Also because she is a firekeeper. And that ties into the whole feeding firekeepers humanity thing, or feeding the bonfires humanity. So she is the head of a covenant. The Daughters of Chaos are a covenant that serve Quelana by going into other worlds. Oh, I took off. I was trying to figure out why I ran so slow, but that's because I took off my rusted iron ring, which allows me to move in the water. So ultimately what happened was her sister Quelaag set up shop there, and what she would do is she would devour adventurers who came there and steal their humanity to then feed to her sister Quelana to keep her sister alive. Meanwhile, any members of the Covenant, they invade other players' worlds to steal humanity from them to feed to Quelana and keep her alive. And as you feed her more and more humanity, she reveals more and more dialogue options. She's a pyromancy, pyromancy covenant as well. So Aingi will, which is the name of the egg guy, Aingi, who is one of the citizens of Blighttown, who have, in their thanks for her basically trying to cure the poison as best they can, they have taken on the burden of her eggs, so that her children can at least survive. Unfortunately, now that you have killed Quelaag, it is heavily implied that Quelana will soon perish on her own. Oh, Wanderlearn is asking, can you kill her? The answer is yes. We can go ahead and kill Quelana. I don't. Oh, speaking of, and there's a reason I'm standing here. I wanted to get that story out before we talk to this NPC who has suddenly appeared here after we beat Quelaag.
A mere undead, yet you can see me. Fascinating. I am Quelana of Izalith. I am not often
Oh
revealed
no,
to
shit.
walkers of flesh.
Quelaag.
You have a gift. Are you too one who seeks my
The fair
guidance?
lady is a different
Like Solomon.
Queen name somewhat.
Very well. Then we are done. You have spoken. Now away with you.
Okay, so yeah, this is Quelana. Yeah, okay. We'll just say
Yes, of course. It should be.
we'll just say we're interested in pyromancy
Very
so
well.
that we can talk to her.
You shall be my pupil. But to pursue my pyromancy, you must give something up. Are you prepared to do this?
Okay. So she too will allow us to level up our pyromancy, and she will teach us pyromancy spells. We can buy pyromancy spells from her.
Long ago, I accepted another pupil like yourself. Over 200 years ago, there was a man almost as bungling as you. In your world, he was called Salaman, the master pyromancer. The little rascal really made something of himself. Pyromancy is the art of invoking and manipulating fire. But remember one thing. Always fear the flame, lest you be devoured by it and lose yourself. I would hate to see that happen again. Pyromancy is the...
Okay.
I would hate to...
So I'm sorry. That is Quelana. Quelaag was the boss spider lady, and the other spider, the dying sister, she's got a different name. It starts with Que also, and the reason is because all three of them are sisters. Okay, even though Quelana there is distinctly less spider than the other. The fact is they are all sisters, and they are also yeah, I don't know if I want to give it away, but what the hell. Okay, so those three women are three of the daughters of the Witch of Izalith, one of the four lords of this world. So in the opening sequence, it refers to the Witch of Izalith and her daughters of chaos. Well, that's those three ladies there. Why two of them are spiders, that remains to be seen. We'll learn more about it later. Because for now, we're gonna go ahead and head out of Blighttown. And we're going to go ahead and take the shortcut. Like I said, this is the way that you get back out once you have beaten Quelaag. So each of the covenants, as I mentioned, has sort of a task that they attempt to perform, either through cooperative multiplay or through competitive multiplay. So the Daughters of Chaos is a competitive multiplay one. You go in, you invade people's worlds. And you don't actually have to do that. I mean, it doesn't have to be about the multiplay. You can feed Quelaag humanity that you acquire any way you acquire it. You don't have to get it through the multiplay system. But it is really, like, all the covenants are basically there to give you tasks that can be fulfilled by collecting humanity. In case you're curious, my covenant, the Warriors of Sunlight, our job is to collect these sunlight medals. Okay, the symbol represents Lord Gwyn's firstborn, who lost his deity status and was expunged from the annals, but the old god of war still watches closely over his warriors. Yeah, so every time you assist another player in defeating a boss, you get a sunlight medal, and every time a a Sunbro, a Warrior of the Sunlight, helps you beat a boss, you get a Sunlight Medal, whether you're in the Covenant or not. So, if I go... it's actually interesting, because if I go into another player's game and help them beat a boss, I get a Sunlight Medal for helping them, and they get a Sunlight Medal for having me along. Matt the Warbo was saying, are there no PvE-ish covenants? Not really. I mean, like I said, certain covenants, because a lot of them are just about gathering humanity, and there are other ways to gather humanity. You don't have to do, like, you don't have to do multiplay. Like, the Daughters of Chaos is very much one that you could pull off without bothering with the multiplay, because it's just a matter of gathering humanity and then shoving it into Kui Quay, or whatever the hell the sister's name is. The Sunbro Covenant is based on cooperative multiplay. I don't know whether you consider that to be, you know what? Shit. My camera was locked on and I got turned around. Guys, listen, I just want to head out, okay? I'm really bored of Blighttown. Yeah, Baka is saying that the Sunbros are very much the coolest covenant. Are you really following? Like, you guys can't let it go? Yeah, that's right. Step off. Oh shit. Okay, so this is kind of a funny thing. The enemies in Dark Souls, they stay aggroed. They never let up. They are unrelenting. But there are certain invisible walls that the enemies can't cross, like when you move from one area to another. So in this case, I am now still well within their aggro range. They are pissed off and want to kill me, but then they keep encountering the invisible wall and having to back away, and then they aggro again. Anyway, the reason, like, after I collect the... Oh, so this is an area that we haven't been to yet, called, the Valley of the Drakes. And it is this very narrow cliffside area. Again, this is an area that we're going to come back to later. Baka is saying it's called a leash spot. Wanderlearn, yeah, Blighttown is definitely one of the ones that's considered a terrible area. I don't know that I consider it the most annoying in the game. As I said last time, I actually do kind of like Blighttown, though it does have frame rate issues and a few... it does have frame rate issues, and it has a few particularly obnoxious things that it does, as we've seen now. But beyond that, I'm not too bad on... I don't mind Blighttown so much. There are areas I hate. This is the door, by the way, that you could have opened using the Master Key if you chose to start with the Master Key. And this leads us back to the edge of the New Londo Ruins, which is directly below the Firelink Shrine. So now we're going to head back up to Firelink Shrine, and probably going to call it a night shortly. Yeah, Baka is saying the lag is worse than the area. Blighttown, because of the number of objects, the number of collision objects in the area, it is very it has frame rate issues. So now, if I hadn't discovered, this is important. If I hadn't discovered the secret illusionary wall and the Firekeeper Queely, I would come back with the Fire Soul that I found, Firekeeper Soul on my way out, to level up my Estus flasks and discover that the Firekeeper here is gone. And actually she is dead. And if I look at the equipment, worn by the Firekeeper at the Firelink Shrine, it is thought to have once been the white robe of a maiden, but smoke and ashes from bonfires have darkened it over the years. So the Firekeepers are people who are permanently bound to keeping bonfires lit. Okay? And once they die, the bonfire that they were bound to cannot be relit. The bond prevents them from getting too far from their bonfire ever. So that's why Quila and Firekeeper here, and we're going to encounter another Firekeeper later. They're all very close to their bonfires. Meanwhile, now we rang the second bell of awakening.
You ring the second bell? That is incredible, I must say. But now we have a new problem. It's noisy, it snores, and its breath is lethal. This is no laughing matter, I tell you.
Okay.
Damn, that stench. And I was really beginning to like it here. Ah, maybe it's time I do something about it.
Okay.
Maybe it's time I do.
Remember that he said that. That, by the way, he is called the Crestfallen Warrior. What is he referring to? He is referring to this. The Bell of Awakening woke this creature up. That's why they're called the Bells of Awakening, because they awakened this creature, this primordial serpent.
Hello. Was it you who rang the Bell of Awakening? I am the primordial serpent, King Seeker Frampt, close friend of the great Lord Gwyn, chosen undead, who has rung the Bell of Awakening. I wish to elucidate your fate. Do you seek such enlightenment?
Who would say no at this point?
Very well. Then I am pleased to share. Chosen undead, your fate is to succeed the great Lord Gwyn, so that you may link the fire, cast away the dark, and undo the curse of the undead. To this end, you must visit Anor Londo and acquire the Lord Vessel. I am pleased to see you well. Is it something urgent?
Mad Adventure is saying he sounds like a really bad ventriloquist dummy with all the clacking. Yeah, I actually like the clacking because you look at his teeth and it kind of makes sense. So, Kingseeker Frampt begins guiding us now from this point on through the rest of the game. He sets out the next leg of the quest.
Those who seek the realm of lords must brave Sen's fortress, a deadly house of traps. Many have gone before you, but none have returned. Fate has chosen you, but proceed with caution. Those who seek...
Okay, he's repeating himself. Kingseeker Frampt will also devour items and convert them into souls. So we can have him destroy items we don't want. And we get sort of a little soul refund, which gets really annoying because you have to listen to that noise every time. He will also break down Titanite chunks for you. Okay, so we found this blue Titanite chunk and this red Titanite chunk. If we give him the red Titanite chunk, it turns into green Titanite shards. If we give him the blue Titanite chunk, it becomes a green Titanite shard. We want to hold on to our green Titanite shards, of course, because that's what levels up holy items, and we're making holy weapons. Yeah, Baka is pointing out that there is another primordial serpent
Chosen
in the game.
undead. I remain here and await.
And I also like it does, like, Mad Adventurer says he's kind of like a hand puppet, and the truth of the matter is the way he comes out of this little, like, there's just this door and he pops out and you can't see where he comes from, and later on, when we go down there, and you see him from the other end, it really does enhance that image of he's basically a hand puppet.
Oh, you again?
Meanwhile, Petrus
I've
has become a
separated
little...
from my lady. I've scoured near and far, but no sight of her. Where could she have gone? Milady, to think I swore to protect you with my life. Your Highness, where have you gone? I am entirely to blame for this. Oh, woe is me. I am unworthy, deathly so. Oh, I'm sorry.
And now he got over it, and he will sell us spells again. But there's really nothing worth spending money on at this point, or souls. So, the biggest thing, like I said, the biggest screw job now is that you do not know why at this point, but you have been robbed of your checkpoint in the central hub of the game. Okay, with the Firekeeper dead, that bonfire is extinguished, and you now do not have that bonfire to use until you find a way to restore it. So, and it's a nasty sort of surprise, particularly because you have the ability to level up an Estus flask now, and you can't. Because of the loss of that fire. Petrus's story will gradually get revealed later. We will also learn what happened to the Firekeeper and who did it. We will also learn a bit more about the primordial serpents, so I don't want to give too much away on that front. So I'm gonna call it a night here. It's been just about 2 hours of play, which is good. But you can see now up ahead, the gate to Sen's fortress has been opened, so we'll be able to start exploring that next time, and it will lead us all the way up the high walls, that high cliff wall there, all the way up to An Orlando, whatever that is. Yep, and that's right, we've got death traps. But we will leave this for another time. So thanks everybody for hanging out. Right, Baka is saying, I know how the Firekeeper died, but I won't say how. Yeah, no shit. Everybody who's played this game before now knows how the Firekeeper died, but we're, I know how the Firekeeper died too.